elite level, I suppose they would say. But Martin Zubimendi, another player that's been linked with Arsenal, Mark, coming from Real Sociedad. How close is that to being announced?
So close.
We've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, I know. It's quite funny. There's a joke going around that Arsenal have signed Zubimendi in January, April, May, June, and probably in July. Yeah, we know that Arsenal are paying the £51 million release clause. We reported earlier this week that Martin Zubimendi had been in London to meet the Arsenal officials and just finalise those details within that contract. We're expecting it to be official next week. We know that he is going to be in London for the pre-season campaign, and he'll be amongst that Arsenal squad that's travelling to Singapore and Hong Kong as well for pre-season activity. So no questions, no concerns, no worries. He will be a member of Mikel Arteta's squad for next season. It's just a case of finalising that details, and then it will be announced at some stage next week, probably because the new football financial year starts on the 1st of July, and they'll make sure they get the deals done in next year's accounts as opposed to this year's. It's a simple accounting exercise, really.
OK, so it's a business
you would
issue
imagine
that's
so
holding
at this stage.
things up.
Yeah.
Kepa has also been mentioned. There's been Nørgaard that's mentioned. What's happening to these players? Why has Arsenal not signed any of them?
Well, there's lots of things being tied up right now. We're expecting a formal announcement of Kepa moving from Chelsea to Arsenal over the course of the next few days, possibly even next week. He's completed his medical. There's an agreement in principle when it comes to personal terms. Arsenal triggering that £5 million release clause in his contract. It's a great bit of business. Arsenal see that as someone to compete with David Raya, somebody who Chelsea bought for around £70 million a few years ago. So that feels like a really good bit of business. Once again, striving to get the very best out of every single department. The goalkeeper department there. Also at the same time, Christian Nørgaard, that deal is very close. It's a £10 million deal that's been agreed. Could rise to £15 million in terms of add-ons. There's still a little bit of work to be done with that deal, but everything is pointing towards a fairly swift conclusion, and that comes amid the situation with Thomas Partey. I think at this stage it's fair to say he's unlikely to stay at Arsenal. Talks have been ongoing around a new contract, but it looks like he's set to depart. So Arsenal have acted very quickly in bringing in Christian Nørgaard, the captain of Brentford. Then at the same time, so those are two deals which you'd think are very close to being confirmed. At the same time, they're also working on signing a centre-back in the form of Christian Mosquera from Valencia. He's got 1 year left on his contract. 20 years of age, he's a right-sided centre-back. It's an area of the pitch that Arsenal have been looking at for a period of time to try and strengthen in depth. They've got plenty of defenders. Arsenal, they're constantly looking to improve in that area of the pitch. He's someone they've looked at for a long period of time, around two or 3 years. Just 20 years of age, so probably more one for the future. But look back when they signed Saliba all those years back, and look what he's like now. And that's the hope. If they do sign him, he'll be someone as good as that.
Kepa, he's going to Arsenal to be a number 2. Does that sound like something that Kepa would want?
Well, I think he'll be pleased with how he performed at Bournemouth last season. I think it's fair to say he didn't have an incredible season, but we got to see the sort of player that Chelsea had, the sort of player that Real Madrid signed on loan a season or two ago. And you never quite know what's going to happen in football, do you? Kepa is a brilliant goalkeeper. David Raya has been a revelation in an Arsenal shirt. There were conversations 2 years back when Aaron Ramsdale was the Arsenal number 1 and people questioned why on earth do you need to sign David Raya, because Aaron Ramsdale had a really good season, but he's just taken that jersey another step forward when you consider his showreel from last season, the important saves he made last year. I think Arsenal defensively, because of the red cards and the injuries, weren't quite as tight at the back as in previous years. In previous years they've been incredible in terms of the clean sheets. But I think Kepa's aware of what his situation will be. Last season Arsenal had Neto on loan, and he only played once, I think, in the Carabao Cup. I think with a player like Kepa, with his credentials, maybe you expect to see him more than Neto last season. We may see him in the domestic cups, potentially in Champions League matches if Arsenal have sealed their progression to the next spot as well. So I think it's a really, really good bit of business for Arsenal. £5 million.
OK, so Mark, we've spoken about a goalkeeper for Arsenal, potential defensive midfielder, attacking midfielder.
I know where this is going.
I heard a rumour that Arsenal were looking for a striker, and I've been hearing that rumour for quite a while. Where are the strikers in Arsenal's radar at the moment?
They're coming. They're coming.
Are they?
But yeah, this is where Arsenal fans will be sat at home tonight watching the show. They'll be sat in the pub. They'll be sat around over the course of the weekend chatting with their mates saying, this is great, yeah, Zubimendi, fantastic, new goalkeeper back up to Raya, yeah, lovely jubbly, possibly someone down the left-hand side, because that's how they talk, lovely jubbly. Yep. And they'll also be saying, we don't care about that, because the one player that we want, the one position we need to strengthen, if you spoke to 100 Arsenal fans, if you spoke to 1,000 Arsenal fans and said, you can only sign one position this summer, what will it be? Where should it be? What would you like it to be? 100 out of 100 or 1,000 out of 1,000 would say It's a number 9. It's a striker. Now, I think Arsenal will get a striker. I don't think there's any question they will get a striker. The way you look at their activity and what they've done so far, they've obviously got a couple of the gaps they need to fill in midfield, with it looks like being an impending departure for Thomas Partey. They needed to find a backup goalkeeper or a goalkeeper that can challenge David Raya. So they've just slotted in those jigsaw pieces. That one final key jigsaw piece is a number 9. We know they're interested in Benjamin Sesko. We know they're also interested in Victor Gyökeres.
But multiple teams are interested in those two.
Exactly. So that's where they can't hang around.
Yeah.
They're going to have to get this business done. But when you look at Arsenal, financially they've been very sound and they're very astute and clever with what they do. However, this next piece of business, if it's a left-sided player or certainly a number 9, is going to be the biggest spend of the summer. It's likely to be a package of 60, 70 or 80 million, depending on who they go and get. The wages are going to be, reflective of the transfer fee. The agency fee will be reflective of the transfer fee. It will be a big deal to make happen. So therefore, they're maybe just slotting in those smaller pieces that aren't quite as expensive, and then they'll be left with, right, this is our pot to go and get a number 9, and we know what we can afford and we know what we're going to go and get. So I would say, Arsenal fans, as frustrating as it is, be patient. It will come. Okay. But not just yet.
And we've still got 7 weeks left until the start of the Premier League season. Arsenal not back in pre-season yet. Arsenal, Mikel Arteta spoke to me before the end of the season. They're aware it's a priority. It's a clear identity. They need to find a striker in this transfer window. They've looked over the course of the last 2 transfer windows. It's not quite been right. There was that interest in Sesko in January, but there was an agreement, a gentleman's agreement in place that he wouldn't leave RB Leipzig in January whilst they were trying to compete to be in the Champions League again next season. It does look like it's going to be one of those 2 players that Arsenal are going to hone in on, and it is the most pressing priority of this transfer window. I don't think you should escape the fact that Arsenal aren't thinking about it at all, or they're working on Zubimendi, they're working on getting a backup goalkeeper first. It's a case of they know what they need to do. It's a case of pricing up what the deals are going to be, because these are really expensive deals to do, and Arsenal in the past have been stung with deals that weren't quite right for the club. So it's a case of finding the right player at the right price, and Mark mentioned the numbers there. We know RB Leipzig want between 80 and 100 million euros for Sesko, so around 70 to 80 million pounds. And I guess that at the moment there's an uncertainty around how much Victor Gyökeres will cost from Sporting, because his release clause is around 84 million pounds, but there was talk about a gentleman's agreement being 58 million pounds to sign him. And they're 2 very different players. Sesko, 22 years of age, huge ceiling. Gyökeres, 27. Has he already reached that ceiling, playing in a slightly less challenging league in Portugal compared to playing for RB Leipzig in Germany and in the Champions League as well. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. They will sign a striker, but we don't know the identity of their main target just yet. OK, so Arsenal fans, don't panic.
They've been calling me. Arsenal fans have been calling me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
number
nightmare.
9, that's all they want.
Nightmare.
That's what Darren says.
Well, it's coming, apparently, according to James and Mark. But, OK, we'll leave it there on
Arsenal's confirmed transfer targets for this summer window point to a focused and ambitious recruitment strategy. The club has already wrapped up a deal for Martin Zubimendi, who joins from Real Sociedad to solidify the midfield. His arrival allows Mikel Arteta to let go of both Jorginho and Thomas Partey while maintaining control and structure in the middle of the pitch. Zubimendi has been one of Arteta's long-term priorities, and now that the deal is finalised, Arsenal can turn their full attention to reinforcing the attack. Leading the list of attacking targets are Victor Gyökeres and Nico Williams. Gyökeres, who had a dominant season with Sporting CP, is seen as a potential long-term solution up front. His physicality, movement, and work rate fit Arsenal's style, and talks have reportedly taken place with his camp. Nico Williams is another confirmed target, offering pace and flair on the flanks. Arsenal are very interested in the athletic club winger, and he's believed to be open to the move, though Barcelona are also in the race, which could complicate things. Arsenal have also monitored Benjamin Sesko, but after his contract extension at RB Leipzig, a summer move now looks unlikely.